Samantha Béart, thank you for taking the time to talk with me here at TechRaptor. Fans may know you as the performance artist for Karlach, as well as Cider in Absalom, and One, the Aetherbender in Fading Echo. That's all
Thank
correct?
you. Yeah, it is.
Amazing.
I like the addition of an ether bender in there. Yes.
To get started, I would love to hear, where did you get your beginning in playing video games?
Oh my. Gosh, why? I don't remember why. I just remember doing it. I guess I saw a friend's older brother playing a Game Boy once, or then thought I want to do that because it goes really far back, and my parents weren't at all encouraging for me to play video games. My first console was a CPC 464 green screen by Amstrad because that was being thrown out by my best friend's brother who was getting a Mega Drive. So I relied on hand-me-downs and opportunities, and I was saying to Arcade Hang the other day, like, this is forbidden. It's not an area I was used to being in as a kid. So I just had to sneak in and try and play a little bit before I was dragged away. It just was a really exciting, fun thing to do as a kid. I really enjoyed games, and I'd play anything, really. I seem to enjoy all genres. Apart from CRPGs, they were a bit difficult when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But like your beat 'em ups, and I liked a little bit of, slots, car racing games, that sort of thing. Yeah, really fun times. So it really goes way back. Around the same time I'm starting to read books and explore stories that way.
Fantastic. And then professionally, as have begun to act in video games, more and more quite frequently, where was the bridge? When did you think this is what I want to do, or did it happen purely by happenstance?
Yeah, there was something happening when I was training. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood came out. I was training to be a Shakespearean actor or whatever. It's sort of usual 3-year conservatoire training that British actors get. And in my downtime, I was playing video games, and Ezio was just a revelation. It was like discovering a new Shakespearean character. I thought he was
Hmm.
so well realized. It just really piqued my interest in terms of performance. It was the first time I think I really noticed performance beyond, finish him and that sort of thing. It just it wasn't something I really noticed before. And then, as I've said in many interviews, I was playing Mass Effect 2 around the same time as well, and obviously picked the girl version. That was cool. That's something I can do in a game now. And Jennifer Hale's performance, I'd been playing, yeah, this must have been a little bit later on. I've been working for Big Finish, who have a lot of the Doctor Who licenses
Hmm.
for audio plays and the like. So I've been playing all these tough chicks in space for some time. And then I was like, yeah, you could do that in a video game. Ah, okay, cool. So then it was just basically cold calling different companies. So the first job was Triumph Studios Age of Wonders 3, in which I played a elven campaign leader, and it was a series of monologues, so easy from my perspective. I wasn't
Hmm.
interacting with anyone else, and I think the idea was at the end of a level, it's like a real-time strategy game. At the end of the level, you would hear, I guess you have made a decision whether you're going to be good or bad, where you're going to go, and then you hear that corresponding monologue. So that was a really nice way, gentle way in. And then there was a point and click game called Nelly Coutelot and the Foul Fleet, which was much more heightened and silly, and Monkey Island and that sort of thing. But it was when I started going to meetups and actually meeting developers, that's when it was starting to happen, when I started to book more jobs. And I started appearing on panels and talking about being an actor in games. And then through that, got to know community, and community's been very kind because there's very few casting directors in acting. It's done through, I know a guy who knows a guy, and I've done the
Yeah.
same for people that I wouldn't normally get to work with. So we all kind of help each other out here, at this level. We don't really know the money people that hire and fire and destroy whole successful companies for seemingly no reason. But the actual people that make the games, they're absolute solid gold.
And thinking about how acting in video games has progressed as well, recently did an interview with Todd Kendrick where you talked about how the idea of like a voice actor is kind of a misnomer now, especially with like mocap performance and everything. So for players, when they hear your voice, what else might they be unaware of that you are going through physically, mentally behind the microphone?
So that I may have done mocap. I still meet Baldur's Gate folks that don't know we did that. I spent hundreds of hours in a very unflattering suit doing that. So I'm not letting it go. It's like something like 10 and a half hours of audio, but I spent 260 hours plus on that. So, and there's a lot of people that were involved in that, in the mocap
Hmm.
engineers and the directors and the cinematic department that had to animate that. All of those people were kind of wiping them out by calling it voice. I should say that I have every respect for voice actors. That ain't me, baby. You get me in the room and go do 20 different accents, I'm going to fall on my face. That's not going to happen, right? I'm not going to be able to sight read in different accents. I'm going to sight read, but it'll be closer to this, or
Hmm.
a British regional accent. But you start throwing different nationalities and stuff at me, it's going to get. But a real voice actor can do that, and they can do it with different ages, genders, all sorts. And I think they're masters, but that's not what I'm doing, and it's not what I'm being asked to do. At any point, I could be doing FMV or mocap or facial capture. So the idea that it's just this very specific discipline is not
Hmm.
helpful to people coming in. And I think it's not fair to those of us who are doing all this other kind of work. So that's all it is. But I think in the States, there's a lot more work as well. And you can be just only working with your voice and make a living out of it in a way that there's very few people in the UK. I mean, I can count on one hand how many people in the UK are actually doing that. So I'm just trying to be specific about it as well as regional. But yeah, in the US, in North America, there's a lot more work than there is over here in the UK.
Yeah, 100%. You talked about how you were cold calling, trying to, get those first few roles. Now for Absalom and Fading Echo, how did you get involved in those projects?
Yeah, so for Absalom, that was just an audition that came through. So they liked what I did and I got the role. And for Fading Echo, I thought I was in a dream because that was a straight up offer and they gave me everything. There's no NDA with the project. They told me everything from day one while pitching. And they had me at, would you like to be the lead actor in this indie game? I was in. The devs, New Tales, are former Blizzard devs based in Lyon in France. And so I knew they knew how to make a game. And they also said that folks from Critical Role would be involved. So I could see there'd be a pedigree to it. And I could see who might be interested in playing it because it's based on a TTRPG they wrote some time ago. And I guess if this is a success, we will get to see that as well. Yeah, it was just dream come true stuff. I didn't know them. They didn't know me. It was a straight up offer. And I'm not used to that at all. And I cherish that because there's no trajectory. You don't get to a point where you go, oh, I've made it, I'm safe. Like you're always having to fight to get seen.
When you do read for a role or are offered one, what elements about the character or the story like leap out to you to make you go, I want in, this is for me.
If I believe they exist, if the writing is good, it doesn't matter the genre or the play style or anything like that. I'm a storyteller, and more specifically a collaborative storyteller.
Hmm.
So there's so much money in these projects, even indie level people get paid. You have to assume that everyone knows what they're doing. Some of the time, you might want to look up if it's a real micro indie, you want to see what else they've done or get to know them. But like I said, I'm a very small cog in a big machine. And I think every game is a miracle. I genuinely believe it. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they ship those games and get them out and put all the pieces together. Because, as I said, there's no NDA with Fading Echo. So I'm in the Discord. I can see what they're doing. I can see how it works. I can see how it's evolved over time and what they talk about and what's important to them. And it's absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating stuff.
That's
And
so
I'm very
cool.
lucky to be able to see that.
Yeah, I mean, with video games, with technology, there's so many times that I sit back and think, how have we tricked like special rocks and minerals to allow a voice call across the world or something? It's
I
absolute
mean,
wizardry.
they like to undermine us, these rocks and minerals, as much as they can. So I'll give them their
That's
due.
true. On the flip side, when you come into a project, what is it about, working with a director or a producer that, immediately lets you know that like you're in good hands?
When they surprise me, when I'm surprised
Hmm.
by what they get out of me, I suppose. Everyone I've worked with is really good at their job, so it's a tough one to answer. But what director does it is pure magic. I don't know how they do it. They have to really get in your head and see how to get the words out of you without giving you a line reading. Essentially, I think that's the first mistake a dev maybe with no experience directing will do. It's like, oh, well, you're just saying the lines in a certain way when it's really about what I'm trying to get out of the other person I'm talking to. What do I want them to do, and how am I going to get that? And that's how I'm thinking, and that's how you would think on stage and TV and film and all of those things. It's exactly the same. It's just a different format. yeah, well, I can't do what they do. I marvel at it. I don't know how they do it. They have to connect with every actor and their unique ways of working because we all work completely differently. It's about what works for us. So yeah, if we're doing maybe something new or something out of my comfort zone and they're getting good results, then props to them because I don't know how they did it.
That's fantastic. And you've talked so much about all of the different pieces and how you're the cog in the machine. You have your podcast, It Takes a Village, that is specifically about shining a light on all of these other parts of game development that maybe don't get it. What led to the creation of this? What made you want to, have these interviews, tell these stories?
Yeah, well, it's a super long story and we don't have forever, so I'll try and break it down. But I think I've just always been interested in, I'm absolutely convinced that a lot of the problems we have in game dev is a lack of communication and there's a lack of understanding about what people actually do in their roles. So I started out during the pandemic. I decided I wanted to have a very public conversation with casting directors, writers, anyone that worked with us. And we also had like a post-production panel, which will have nothing to do with me, but I've kind of caused the problem by recording, right? And they have to deal with that problem, make it sound good. So we did that and we discovered things. And I think a lot of the actors, maybe they don't play games, they haven't done many games. They certainly won't know what goes on behind the scenes because we're in a very NDA'd industry. There was a lot more sympathy because the first thing they don't realize is people don't have 100% dedicated roles a lot of the time in game dev. There's people wear many hats instead. The composer might be casting, for example, the lead sound engineer might be doing some QA. So it's we have to be very understanding about those roles, and that maybe a director isn't a fully trained up film or TV director. Maybe they're just coming in from the dev side and are super passionate about what they want to do. So then we have to develop our own vocabulary about how to work with them to the best of our ability. Because the one thing we do all have in common is we want to make the best work we can make. So that was called Game Voices Connect, and that's archived on my YouTube channel. And that happened and that's there. And it's the same question, like, what do you do? What can I do to make your life easier, right? That's always going to be the question. So I think that kind of stands on its own. And then Baldur's Gate comes out years later. I'm playing on Twitch. It becomes monetized very quickly. I was like, this isn't the life I wanted. Let's do something different. Oh yeah, I like talking to game devs and finding out what they do. And at that point, in that 3-year interim between 2020 and 23, when the game came out, a lot of people, as I said, in different roles, had got me to where I got. And I wanted to say thank you. And I wanted to do a bit of career fair. Look, people, you can join at any age from any career. Like, in fact, it's kind of better if you're a bit older and you come from another career because you bring that richness with you, bring another perspective with you. And then, yeah, within our departments go, no, I didn't realize you did that, or whatever, or whether that is in your role or a title you did. We didn't realize you did that, So it was this wonderful sort of showcase and a way of saying thank you, as well as showing the world behind the scenes. People love behind the scenes. So it's nice
Yeah.
to be able to provide some of that.
Yeah, so many like hats on top of hats, especially in the indie space. From those, it's no surprise that the internet is filled with mostly incorrect, wild, hot takes. What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions that you see about acting in video games or the video game industry, in general?
Yeah, I think honestly, it comes down to that lack of exposure about what we do. So I've started to liken it to being a session musician because everybody knows what a session musician is like, right? They've done all the work on the outside, years of training, and then they come in the studio, they sight read, they knock it out in 2 takes. That's what we do. People think that it's a collaboration. We sit there and we sit there and write with the writers and we do chemistry tests. We get to know each. No, you go in, you read the thing and you're done, which is why a lot of the people you interview can't remember what they've done because they've said the line once
Yeah.
or twice. And then 6 months to a year for it to come out, you have forgotten. And the other thing is a lot of the time you are sight reading because they don't want to give you the script in advance. So you can't even go back and look at the thing. So, I think it's a much faster process than people realize. I think a lot of actors like to say they spent years on something and it sounds like they were salaried for years. Like Fading Echo, I could say I was on it for 7 months because they contacted me 7 months ago, when in fact to
Right.
date I've done 2 sessions. I've done 2 sessions, that's it. And I'm about to do a couple more so we can actually finish the game. And it's short, indeed, short, very short.
Yeah. To kind of wrap this up, I would love to hear what game are you currently playing, if you are one, or is there any that you're really looking forward to in the near future?
Yeah, so the problem with working in game dev is that you don't have time to play games, which is my defense. So I'm trying to play games I'm in. So Absolem, I've been really
Yeah.
enjoying. And anytime I get to be like a player character, I want to see what it's like.
Yeah.
And Cider and Carl love it. Absolutely, I'm there for it. I met the actor very recently, Trev Fleming, lovely Northern Irish actor. And what else? Oh, Fading Echo was in a alpha build for people to play test, and it went down really well. And I've been on streams, watching people play. But I also got to play it very early on, and that, of course, informed my session, in a way that I've never been allowed to do that before. So really, it's homework. My answer is I'm doing homework.
Right.
But I've also recently played Tales of Kinzera's because I accidentally got 3 different people who worked on it on Village. I didn't realise that they would all did it. So we had Corey Brotherson, who was a lead writer. We had Jade Liam and Chara Skull, who was a audio lead. She's normally a composer, but she was in audio on this. Hats. And then and Agabaka Salim, who did pretty much everything else, it seems. So so I was like, probably should play this so I know what I'm talking about. And of course, it's on the list. I've been meaning to play it since it came out, but I actually made myself play someone else's game, Andy. I did that. Well, I played Dead Take
That's
because I
love.
wanted to think about his other stuff.
And when can people expect to hear the new season of It Takes a Village?
Yeah, so we're scheduled to come out sometime next month. It being October now, it should be November, definitely over December. It's out of my hands. I've done it. They're
Okay.
editing it.
Yep.
I've got no idea, but we're hoping very soon. Yeah, because the streaming thing is that you have to get them out regularly. So we just want to make
Right.
sure they're edited, and then we can bring them out once a week.
100%.
But yeah, definitely for the end of the year. Very much looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. This has been enlightening. I'm so looking forward to. I love all the behind the scenes stuff, all the little anecdotes of the story parties and the how things come together. I'm really excited for the next season.
You're very kind. Thank you for having me on. I
Of course.
appreciate it.
Have a wonderful day.